Did you know that according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness in their information page about bipolar disorder in 2024, 3 million Americans live with bipolar symptoms, while only 1/3 of them end up receiving adequate treatment? My name is Ryan, and I'll be talking a little bit today about why bipolar disorder and the awareness of bipolar disorder is ending stigma in mental health. So I wanted to take just a second to kind of define what bipolar disorder really is. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, in their updated page about bipolar disorder in 2024, they would define bipolar disorder, frequently called manic depression, as a mood disorder categorized in highs, mania, and lows depression. I'll talk a little bit more about what those highs and lows really mean when considering diagnosis and understanding the symptoms of bipolar disorder. So manic depression would start with mania, which is abnormal elevated mood, including like irritation, irrationality, and dangerous elevated moods. There is mania and hypomania. Hypomania is the more manageable, less aggressive form of mania. Depressive episodes would consider your inability to complete day-to-day tasks, your abnormality and aversion to like life and desire to live. Bipolar disorder is diagnosed in two forms, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 is categorized by mania and depressive episodes lasting at least 1 week of mania resulting in hospitalization or resulting in a psychotic episode, where bipolar 2 would result in hypomania instead of full-blown mania. That one can be less severe, but still very important to consider. I got all of this information about bipolar disorder from the Mayo Clinic's information page about bipolar disorder that was updated in 2026. Did you know that untreated bipolar disorder can result in brain damage? The University of California at San Francisco did a study in 2003 about how untreated bipolar disorder reduces gray matter in your brain, which in turn reduces brain function. The combination of the elevated mood of mania and the low depressions that up and down can reduce your brain function, which is part of why it's so important to get treatment and why it's so important to end stigma. Speaking of stigma, I just wanted to give a brief explanation of what stigma really is. Stigma is usually the judgment or misinformation about anything and is usually in a more negative light than a positive light. 44% of people believe that people with manic depression are often violent, and another 25% think people who have mood disorders or manic depressive illness are very different from others, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, a press release done in 1999. I think this is a good conversation when considering stigma and how what people think impacts treatment. People assume that those with bipolar disorder are inherently violent. That is the public-facing stigma that is caused. So speaking of stigma again, I just wanted to discuss the 3 key kinds of stigma. It would be public stigma, which is negative attitudes from the general public, just a general assumption passed around most of society. Self-stigma, where there's internalized hatred or internalized misinformation about something. And then structural stigma, which is systematic discrimination. I think, for example, foundations not wanting to invest in like mental health facilities or have like people represented who live with mental illnesses. The Psychiatric Association of America informed us about stigma in 2022, and there was a study done by Cambridge University in 2022 that also confirmed that stigma reduces treatment seeking. That was a beautiful study done, and I think it's very worth having a look at. So I also just wanted to finish this off by talking about some common misconceptions about bipolar disorder. Recovery Village is a mental health recovery and addiction recovery care system. They have all sorts of facilities. They did a little article in 2019 about myths about bipolar disorder. So I just wanted to talk about those a little bit. I felt like it would be a good wrap up for this. So bipolar disorder is rare. 2.1% of the existing population has symptoms, and 2.1% sounds very small, but that's about like 1 in 10 people that you know. That's a lot of people who do live with that. Mood swings indicate bipolar disorder. Mood swings are a symptom of bipolar disorder, but it's important to consider that, you know, it's a very common thing. It's difficult to deal with, but we all deal with it. That's another reason why we can use that to relate to those who live with bipolar disorder. People with bipolar disorder switch between moods quickly. Transitioning between mania and depression is something that can often take days, weeks, months. You can have a normal period of months where you don't experience either and you're just living a standard day-to-day life. Mania is a happy, fun feeling. Mania is oftentimes for a lot of people the most debilitating part of bipolar disorder. It's debilitating, it's sometimes treatment resistant, and can have long-term effects on your life. Reckless spending, relationships you mess up, you can spend your whole life trying to recover from things you did in a manic state. Well, that is about it for me, but I just wanted to thank you guys again for being considerate and hearing about mental health. Just listening and understanding what I've said to you is you taking a step towards ending stigma against mental health. It's important to consider those around you and not weaponize your commentary. I just think of terms like, I'm so OCD right now, or the weather's so bipolar, and how they quietly stigmatize and invalidate the experiences of millions of people.